The new Amazon series, A League of Their Own, is super gay. Like, super...
No pressure.
Super gay. And I've only seen the first episode. Normally, we are queer baited and we have to watch normally multiple series, multiple seasons of shows to get even a smidgen of content. So I very warmly welcomed not only the plethora of gay that we got in the pilot, but even a hookup scene at the end. So thank you, lesbian, women-loving women gods. You are shining down upon all of us. So I'm going to talk about the pilot of A League of Their Own, and I'm not going to go too in-depth. So even if you haven't seen it, I think it's okay to watch this video. There'll be very light spoilers, and I am going to be covering the rest of the show. Depending on how heavy the episodes are, I might do a video for every episode. I might do 2 episodes per video. I'm just going to see as I watch. But let me know in the comments if you've seen the whole series or even a couple of episodes. Let me know what you'd prefer. I'm going to talk very generally about the show and what happens, and then go into more what I thought and overall opinion and where we're going to go from here. So to start off with, I'm sure most people are very familiar that this show is kind of not a remake or a sequel, but more a reimagining of the movie. I think it's 1992, the movie that starred Madonna, Gina Davis, Tom Hanks, Rosie O'Donnell, and this is just a new telling, a new version. I think they did the best thing here because the movie has a very big cult following. Pretty much every lesbian I've ever met is obsessed with this movie. So I think that if they would have just done a remake, it wouldn't have really sat the same way with people. So I think that was a good decision. And it also gives them a bit more freedom as well. And in case you didn't know, the movie and the film are set in 1943 when the Second World War was ravaging. Ticket sales were down in Major League Baseball, and that is when, in the show, Mr. Baker, who owns a candy company, decides to start a women's league. Well, they call it a girls' league in the show. Mr. Baker is actually based on Mr. Wrigley's, who is, of course, from Wrigley's Gum. The first episode documents a diverse group of women arriving in Chicago for tryouts, and later in the episode specifically follows one of the chosen teams, the Illinois Peaches. The leads so far seem to be Greta and her friend from childhood, Joe, Carson, who left a small town to try out even though her husband is on his way home from war, and also Max and her friend Lance. So as I said, we kind of start out, we go to the tryouts, and I really loved this scene where Greta, Joe, and Carson walk into the tryouts, and there's all these women playing baseball, and they're like really blown away, and they're like, wow, like I can't believe, you know, there was this many girls that played ball, I think they say. And Greta says, well, how would you know? Like, you know, nobody's ever done anything like this before.
I didn't know this many girls play ball. How could you? There's never been anything like this before. Get your game faces on. Let's show these girls up.
And just when they were walking onto the field and you could see just how blown away they were. I know this is like maybe a cheesy comparison, but it made me feel like the first time that I ever went into a lesbian bar, and having come from a really small island that doesn't have any sort of things like that, and also it was 2004 and I moved to Tampa, and it was just kind of mind-blowing to go into a place like that. And I mean, in a way as well, that kind of same reaction when things like the L Word came out. So I really identified with them in that moment. I do think the being set in 1943 brings in probably a lot of difficulties, but then also is allowing the audience to kind of examine things through a different lens, because obviously the characters in the show are doing things and saying things that are just unbelievably misogynist, you know, sexist, racist, homophobic.
Look, I don't think you understand. This is the All-American League.
I mean, we're pretty all-American.
Yeah, we American.
You're born here.
Yeah, and God we trust, you know.
Jesus.
A bunch of guys got drafted, so all these spots open.
I am literally 4 billion times the player you are.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because you're a woman.
Oh, right. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And it really does make you want to rip your own face off when you're hearing these things. And they can't really set it in any other time due to obviously that being the factor that made this all happen with the women's baseball league. Like, it has to be during a time that people are being drafted and men are away at war. So I do think that they are approaching it in a unique way, and I do think it will spark up some interesting conversations. Also, there was a moment at the end that I will talk about in a sec that totally was another, I totally self-identify with this and I wanted to rip my own heart out, but I'll get to that in just a sec. To speak specifically about the kind of gayness in the show, I mean, watching the trailer, I'm sure most people watching this video and most other kind of LGBTQ people will have been able to pick up the subtleties in the trailer. Like, there was some eye sort of flirting and like touching hands and things that maybe if you showed it to someone who wasn't very well versed in LGBTQ content or like a lot of straight people, they wouldn't have thought, oh, anything was going to go on. So it is interesting how they marketed the show, because that's why I kind of thought there might be queer baiting, because the trailer was very subtle, but just the way that the episode was, there was a lot of subtlety, but then they actually gave us the payoff in the end. So I was really pleased with it. I thought they did a great job of the build up throughout the episode between the two characters of Greta and Carson, because when Greta and Carson meet, you have them kind of flirting a little bit and like eye contact and stuff, and then over the episode it just builds and builds and builds, and there's like a scene where Greta's cutting her hair and it's just more flirting, and it kind of all culminates in this scene in the bar towards the very end of the episode where Greta pulls Carson into like a storage closet and makes out with her, and then she pulls away and then they make out again. And then Greta is probably the most self-assured person on the planet. She's so confident, and she just kind of looks at her and goes, I thought so, and walks out. And I was just like, oh my god, I love this woman.
I thought so.
I love Darcy Carden anyway. She is a really amazing actress, and she totally steals every scene in this show. The only character that I think is just as good as her in this show is the character of Lance, Max's friend. Everything she said was just pure fucking gold.
It's called Wonder Woman, but she doesn't show up until the second to last page. And then the Duke of Deception uses the crown of Mars to separate her spirit from her body, and that's it.
Those are my two favorite characters by far so far, and I really enjoyed every minute that both of them were on screen. So the bit where I wanted to rip my own heart out was at the end. So after Greta and Carson have made out, and obviously Carson is like a baby gay, and you know, I'm guessing this is probably like maybe one of the first times, if not the first time, she's ever acted on these sort of feelings. And then we see Greta walking out of the bar, like leaving with this soldier, and Carson like runs after her and she's like, where are you going? She's like, oh, I'm gonna go and show, I can't remember his name, the sights. And she's like, but you don't know the sights, you just got here. And she was like, oh, you know, I'll figure it out. And she says all these other things like, you don't have your stuff, and oh, you don't know where you're going, and are you sure you're okay? And Greta's just keeps shutting her down like, no, I'm fine, thanks for being concerned, but it's all good.
Are you sure it's a good idea? You just met him. It's sweet of you to worry, but I can take care of myself.
Hey.
And it's just like, oh, we have all been there. All women loving women have been there for sure. But I mean, this is even different because normally it's when the straight woman is living with her boyfriend. But this is obviously 10 times worse because they've just had this whole thing in the, I was going to say the makeout closet, in the storage closet. So to wrap it all up, I am pleasantly surprised by A League of Their Own. I really went in expecting kind of a fine show with maybe some crumbs of women loving women content, but I definitely got a full meal and I'm really, really happy. I hope that this continues, this sort of caliber, because the episode was really good too, and a lot of unique characters and just not the sort of thing that you see every day on TV. So I really enjoyed it and I am looking forward to watching the rest of the show. As I said, I will be doing videos, but the biggest thing probably to take away from this video is go and watch the show. It's definitely worth watching. And as I've been on my soapbox lately, we have to watch these shows, support these shows, talk about these shows if we want them to stick around. I think the best thing you can do right now is to watch the show on Amazon. And if you enjoy it, go and give it a 5-star review on Amazon, on IMDb, on other places, because we have to watch and support these shows if you enjoy it, because otherwise it's going to go the same way all the other women loving women shows have gone this year, with the cancellations of so many. So if you enjoyed the show, then comment on this video, share this video, go and watch other YouTube creators who are talking about A League of Their Own, because all of that helps as well. And don't forget to follow me on social media so you can stay up to date with when I'm posting new episodes, new reviews of A League of Their Own, and also to stay up to date on everything the L Word Generation Q season 3. And as always, make sure to stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.